Today I'd like to talk about my problems with the ranting community. Now, disclaimer, this is mostly just based off of my personal opinion, so if you have any opinions that you'd like to give, please do so in the comment section below. Now, before I get into my opinions, I would like to talk about what the ranting community is first. The ranting community is a community that mainly focuses on ranting. Now, most of these rants will usually have a decorated background, with things like layouts, a background which is usually a slime video, and a character in the corner. If you were an outsider, you'd say that there would be nothing wrong with this community, just a bunch of, kids ranting about stuff that makes them mad. However, inside this community, there is a lot, and I mean a lot, of controversy surrounding it. Now, let's get into my first problem with the ranting community. Now, the ranting community has a very, very big problem with rage baiting. Now, you see, there's nothing wrong with rage bait as long as you don't use sensitive topics and such. However, this is exactly what the ranting community does. Now, I don't really have many videos showing this type of rage bait. However, I can very much attest to it being true as there are multiple response videos to rage bait videos. Now, this should be common sense, but rage baiting using serious topics is bad. Saying that SA victims deserve what happened to them to rage bait people is bad. Like Applejack said in that one My Little Pony episode, it's like a prank shortcut basically. Like, damn, holy shit. You make soulless rage bait and you're using insensitive topics to rage bait people? Pick a struggle, please. However, I'd also like to address the amount of people that make response videos to this type of rage bait. Now, yes, I do understand being mad when you see rage bait, and obviously you're gonna want to make response videos about it. And to be fair, there's really nothing wrong with that. However, the thing is, with rage bait, you're basically giving these types of people attention, which is something that you don't want to do when it comes to rage bait. I don't really have much to say for this part, so let's just move on to the next. The ranting community has a very huge problem with harassment, specifically of popular content creators in the community. Now, I will use Natsuki as an example. Disclaimer, Natsuki isn't really considered a ranter anymore, she does not want to be considered one. However, I will be using her time in the ranting community as an example of the harassment that she's faced. Many people didn't consider Natsuki a ranter, and while yeah, that is true, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people had harassed Natsuki over it, which is so fucking scummy. Like, she's a minor. Why are we harassing minors over something so trivial? And this hasn't just happened with Natsuki, it's happened with basically every popular ranter inside this community. Tomoko, I think Geology as well, people like that basically. And no, I'm not trying to excuse Geology's actions here. Now let's move on to the next part, which also directly ties with this part. There is a whole lot of controversies inside this community. Like, when I say controversies, I'm not talking about people that have actually done bad things. I am talking about things that could be easily solved in private. Now, let's take the Natsuki and Tomoko situation, for example. This was where Natsuki and Tomoko had fought over an opinion. Now, I'm not going to go in depth about what happened, especially since I don't remember much of it myself. However, this led to a lot of harassment from both of these ranters' fans. This isn't the only time that a controversy has led to harassment. It also happened with other ranters. And yes, as you can guess, they are all popular ranters, people like Sunday and stuff. And it's really crazy to me how people are willing to harass literal minors over things that could very be easily solved in private. Then again, most of these ranters' fans are also minors themselves, so I can't really, blame them. Now, last but not least, we have... This is the problem that irks me the most in regards to the ranting community. Now, I'm going to be talking about this ranter named Jax, and this ranter has made a lot of interesting takes, that's for sure. And while I don't agree with him or any of his takes, that's not really why I'm talking about Jax. I am talking about Jax because of his fans. A lot of his fans are really quick to say, oh, but it's a hot take, it's a hot take, it's a hot take, it's a hot take. But what most of them fail to realize is that hot takes are very much meant to be disagreed with and criticized. It comes with making a hot take. And if we agreed with basically every hot take in the world, then no take would be a hot take anymore. No hot takes wouldn't even exist. And while we're on the topic of Jax, I would also like to address the amount of controversial ranters inside this community. What I mean by this is ranters that love to regurgitate the same takes over and over again. As an example, you mentioned bursting psychosis, Syrians are delusional, fish kids are delusional, blah blah blah. It's like these ranters have never had an original thought in their lives. And like to me, it just seems like they're trying to appeal to the people who hate them, people that aren't in the ranting community. They want to be seen as one of the good ranters. Stuff like that, basically. And most of these ranters' fan bases aren't the best either, because the moment you try to criticize said ranter, their fans will dog on you. Their fans will find you and kill you. And this just shows how biased the ranting community is. They're perfectly tolerant to controversial ranters' opinions. However, when people criticize them, suddenly it's not okay anymore. Suddenly, but it's just an opinion. It's just an opinion. And like I just have to ask here, if it's just an opinion, then why are you harassing other people for giving their opinion on your favorite ranter? Why are you harassing people for criticizing your favorite ranter's quote unquote hot take? And I could go into other problems. I could go into a plethora of problems with this community. However, I don't really feel like doing so, and I don't think I have any in mind right now. So I'll just move on to my conclusion. Now, my conclusion here is basically the ranter community is just very toxic. It's a cesspool for harassment, toxicity, stuff like that, basically. I would just like to remind you all, most of these ranters are middle schoolers. You have no business to be harassing them over something as trivial as like a really poorly worded take. However, I can't necessarily put all the blame on the fans either, because most of them are also children. Most of them are all teenagers or middle schoolers and stuff. In fact, no, I'm going to say that all of them are. And I just feel like we shouldn't be giving most of these ranters popular platforms in the first place, especially since, like, we have had situations like this happen before with giving minors platforms. To be honest, I really wouldn't be surprised if, like, we had another birdie situation happen in this community. That's just my opinion though, and like, sorry if this video was worded poorly. Again, I didn't make a script for this. I hate making scripts. Anyway, bye.